To me, that was the moment that was the moment that captured everything from Andy Murray's last match ever maybe, from last night. Oh, you better not step on the button. What do you think's in there? It's coffee. Tonight on Coffee Break Tennis, we talk about what could have been Andy Murray's last match ever. We talk about the court speed, always a big topic that everyone debates over, nobody agrees on in the early stages of a tournament, especially this one that's supposed to be the fastest. We'll try to get to the bottom of that. We'll look at some interesting stats from day one of the Australian Open 2019. We'll read some of your comments, and we'll talk about some things that are not cool, and we'll talk about things that are pretty funny. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I am your host, Matt Bradshaw. Your co-host, he is around. Obviously, he was just here, the talking tennis cat, who is now called the artist formerly known as Mr. GOAT. That's what he wants to be referred to as, so we will respect his wishes. This is the home of the highest tennis IQ tennis fans in the world. It is the fastest growing internet tennis talk show in the world, Coffee Break Tennis. Let's start off with the court speed stuff, because, to me, I'm a big Fed fan. To most Fed fans, and we already have... Let me just read this one for you. First off, Patrick McEnroe started off the broadcast yesterday on ESPN, day one ESPN coverage, by saying this, something that I said, when did I first say this? Maybe a year ago, maybe longer. Federer's best chance to win another major here at the Australian Open, Patrick McEnroe said, because of two reasons. One, the reason that I always talk about, the other one, not so much, something I've said, is, of course, this is now the fastest major in the world. Of the four majors, it's definitely faster than the U.S. Open. It's way faster than Clay, French Open. And it is even faster than the grass of Wimbledon now, which is kind of shocking for some people, but it's pretty obvious now the Australian Open is the fastest of the four majors. If you don't know why that helps Roger Federer, I'll put it very simply for you. As Federer gets older, can't overpower... Well, he has a lot of power, but... maybe he doesn't have as much power as some other players, and of course he needs to shorten up points and hit winners, and it's just easier to hit a winner on a fast court because your ball moves faster. It's that simple. Roger Federer will do less running around the court if he is able to hit more winners. A fast court enables him to hit more winners. But the second reason Patrick McEnroe said Roger Federer will do better at the Australian Open versus the three other of the four majors is because he will go into this tournament more fresh. He's coming off the training block of December, the vacations of December, Christmas, shutting it down early in November. So Roger Federer has a lot of time off to do whatever he needs to do to get ready. And you may say, Matt, well, he skips the French Open. How does he not have plenty of time before Wimbledon? Well, he plays Hopman Cup before the Australian Open. That's one kind of low-key relaxed event that I think is a great choice for Roger. Whereas he plays Stuttgart and Halle in Deutschland right before Wimbledon. So maybe Patrick McEnroe has got a case there. But now we got another person on the Eurosport, European Sports Network. Mats Wilander said this: I think it's his only chance of a major these days. Talking about Roger. The Australian Open hasn't been the quickest of hard courts in the past couple of years, and if I was the tournament director, there's no way they wouldn't keep it that way, meaning they wouldn't slow it down if he was tournament director, because it favors Nick Kyrgios, most Australian players, and definitely Roger Federer. Roger Federer is not an Australian, but he sells tickets even better than Australians do at the Australian Open. So long as it's not too physical for Federer in the first four rounds, week one, I would say he is as dangerous as he has been before. It doesn't say how far before. Is he as dangerous as he was in 2006, 2007? Or does he mean he's as dangerous as he was in 2017 and 2018? As long as Rafa shows up and plays and can compete, I say we're looking at an unbelievable men's tournament. These three guys are somehow hanging on, and there's definitely the arrival of the younger guys. Then he goes on to say, I wouldn't worry too much about Novak Djokovic's recent losses. He's lost in his last three tournaments rather than winning the whole thing. He said he wouldn't worry too much about it. This is best of five. He's won this Australian Open 6 times, which is tied with Federer now. Not too worried about him. Oh, hey, Mr. Goat. The artist formerly known as Mr. Goat has spotted something outside the window. Perhaps a creature. So that's Mats Wilander getting in on the fun, joining Patrick McEnroe and saying all the stuff that I said like a year ago. So, and I promised to get to the Andy Murray. We're not even going to say a whole lot about it, but we'll get to the Andy Murray. That leads me to, is this court actually that fast? Well, John McEnroe, during the Rafa-Nadal match, during that broadcast, John McEnroe said that this court appears to be slower than it has the last couple of years. Then he said, offering a caveat, that's with me only having been here watching this match for 17 minutes, so what do I know? And as far as I could tell, I don't think he said anything about court speed again after that. So I have devised a speed test. We are going to speed test. Now, unfortunately, I won't really be able to give you concrete results until I edit this video and really actually measure the time of the bounce. And again, this is not too scientific. It's not like the Australian supercomputer that can predict the winners of the majors, which, by the way, comment below if you've seen the latest G-I-G supercomputer results for this year. I haven't seen it yet. Can't wait to see those things. Maybe they quit. Maybe they ran out of funding. I don't know. But if anyone knows what's going on with the Australian supercomputer that predicts the results, the winners of the 4 majors, comment the link down below so I can find that and talk about it on the next show. So this isn't as scientific as, say, the supercomputer, but take a look. This is from Roger Federer's 2018 first round against Al-Jazzy Badini. So take a look. We'll play a clip from round 1, 2018, and then we'll play clips against Denis Istomin, round 1, 2019. And you comment below and tell me what you think. So watching these 2 clips, I'll tell you what I think. I think you got 3 options to comment below. The courts are slower now, the courts are faster now, or the court's speed is so close to last year that it's really not going to make that much of a difference. And that's the one I'm going with. I think it's pretty similar. It's pretty, so you may be able to say well, Federer's hitting his forehand harder in these clips from 2019 than he is in 2018 or something like that. But I think Roger's pretty consistent with ground stroke speed. So this is about as good as it's going to get for now. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say it. If anything, I'm going to go with McEnroe and say they are slightly slower than they have been in the last couple years. And of course, as play goes on, the courts will speed up the more they get hit on. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Andy Murray last night. All of you know that it really started. I just did 20 slams of Christmas tennis history. Was it 2007? I think. 2007, where Andy Murray beats Roger in Cincinnati. Punk teen Andrew Murray, and I kind of hated him after that. I'll never forget 2008 U.S. Open final. I had a friend who said, the Federer guy's old. People were saying stuff like that back then. And this young guy, Andrew Murray, is going to whoop him. He said, I like Murray. And I don't know, this guy doesn't even like tennis that much. Maybe he was just saying it to razz and jazz me. Welcome back, Mr. Goat. But I took it very personally. And, I haven't been very fond of Andy Murray. I was really happy to see Roger beat him in 2010 in the Australian Open final. I was always happy. Of course, 2012, Federer fans were dying for another major, desperate almost. But like Andy Roddick, I came to appreciate Andrew Murray, and I almost was happy for him that he got his Olympic gold at Wimbledon against Roger Federer. It was tough in the moment, but take the Wimbledon over the Olympic gold any day. I was happy. I wanted Juan Martín del Potro to beat Andy in the 2016 Olympics. But I got to tell you, I rooted pretty hard for Andrew Murray yesterday. I think everyone did. And it was pretty amazing to see what he did. And in a moment, we're going to look at stats from a few matches. And we'll look at Andrew Murray's stats. Because the stats indicate that he did nothing better than his opponent numbers-wise. But he just willed it. And that's kind of in a nutshell, as they say, and I've already heard, people have already said, Chris Fowler last night was saying, in a microcosm, this match represents his entire career at the Australian Open. So close, giving it everything he's got, and falling short, being the second best player 5 times. Well, he was second best player last night, but I think he won over fans. I think his fans who love him, the 1%, I think they're pretty thrilled with how the match went, even though Andy Murray lost. And Andy Murray left it open. He said, he's going to do this hip surgery that, my understanding that it's as close as you can get to having a hip replacement. He might do the surgery. He's going to make up his mind in the next week or two, and he might give it another go. But it looks like if you have this surgery, hip reimaging, hip resurfacing, something like that, it just sounds like. My understanding is that it reduces your ability it'll kill his balance. Like, he just won't have as good a balance on that side, which is not going to help him play better. It'll make it easier for him to walk and get around. He'll have less pain, but he'll also he won't be able to hit that same fitness level that you need to be Andy Murray fitness playing at the top of his game. So you got to give Andy Murray credit. It was tough to watch. You saw at the beginning of the show, when the crowd's giving him that ovation, realizing, he's down 5-1 in the 5th. This could be the last game we ever see Andy Murray play ever. They gave him the standing O, right before he serves that game. He ends up saving a match point with that was, if I already played, I'm nervous with the Australian Open. They might try to get me if I put too much match footage in this video. Otherwise, I'd show you the volley that Murray hits for a winner and almost has to run into the crowd, unable to slow himself down after he hits it to save match point. It was pretty impressive stuff. And like I said, I think that kind of captured the moment, and I think that match kind of encapsulated the whole career. A microcosm, as the pundits like to say. It's a big, fancy-sounding word. By the way, I love Chris Fowler, not a dig at him by any means. But I think the numbers, the stats, that kind of shows you that he willed himself to get everything he could out of what he had in him. He got the way Andy Murray trained throughout his career. And he said, Andy Murray has said he kind of regrets training so hard because, the back injury that first was a big obstacle for him that he had to come back from a few years ago. That was from overtraining. And now Andy Murray says maybe he trains too hard, and this injury with the hip, this worn out, destroyed hip, maybe it could have been avoided if he hadn't trained so hard. But at the same time, he kind of had to train that hard to get to the unreal fitness level he needed to get to challenge the other members of the Big Four. So like I said, these stats, it's kind of like his whole career. He was against all odds, looking at the numbers. Roger, Rafa, Novak, they're winning literally everything. Yet Andy Murray manages to make himself a career during this era. And even though all the numbers were against Andy Murray, he pulled off quite a lot. So let's move on to, we'll look at the Andy Murray stats in a second. But first, I just want to, it's the Australian Open, and I only have faith in one Australian player. Although, man, my draw got destroyed. Like I said, I played pretty risky this time around, and I made a mistake. First off, I don't think picking Isner to go as far as he did was such a big mistake because, it's the fastest major. Benefits Isner just as much as it does Roger. The fact that they got rid of the never-ending 5th set and put in the 10-point tiebreaker for a 5th set at 6-all, I thought that would greatly benefit Isner. I thought Isner would be able to get through the first week of this major a little easier than other times in the past, right? He wouldn't have the Nicholas Mahut longest Wimbledon of all time match kind of scenario play out for him. And I'm going out of order almost. When we look at the stats, more on the Isner stuff because I think there's something really interesting in the stats. Because one, Isner won a lot more points, if I remember right, a lot more points than Riley Opelka. He pretty much beat him in every statistic, yet he lost. And there's a reason for that, and maybe I should have seen that reason. Maybe I should have spotted it. But again, who can attribute to these little tournaments before the majors? But it is safe to say the guys who do well at Sydney, Auckland, and Alex de Minaur, the Demon, of course, he won. He beat Seppi in Sydney. Maybe he's going to get too tired. He obviously was, I heard he was upset that he had to play day one. I'm upset that the Sandman, who just won his first tournament ever, he had to play day one. I didn't realize when I made that pick for Sandman to go so far that he would have to play, all those matches he did to win his first title ever in Auckland, have to fly over from New Zealand to Australia, and then play day one of the Australian Open. So the Sandman's gone. I got burned pretty bad on that. Who else did I pick to win? I picked Cam Norrie to beat Taylor Fritz because of the way he handled him so easily. And did they play in Auckland, or where did they play? Cam Norrie? Wherever they played. But yeah, Cam Norrie, I think he lost to Sandman in the final. He's out. The Fritz is in. Ugh, my draw sucks. But I did pick Ash Barty. And even though she played the tournament right before, I think Ash Barty is the best hope for Australian tennis players. And maybe De Minaur too. Let's hope. Let's hope at least he gives Rafa a tough match. It could be entertaining. But look at this. Bernard Tomic unleashes on Lleyton Hewitt. And we already talked about, I think we talk about last video? Nick Kyrgios hasn't had nice things to say about Lleyton Hewitt either. Apparently, Lleyton Hewitt's not going to his matches. They're not talking to each other. Bernard Tomic's not talking to him. This is what Bernard Tomic says about Lleyton Hewitt after he lost to the big Marin Chill man. "No one likes him anymore," said Tomic of Hewitt. "We have a lot of issues that not a lot of players are happy about. We all know who those players are. Me, Tanazi, Kokkinakis, Nick Kyrgios." Apparently, Tanazi Kokkinakis is upset because Lleyton Hewitt passed him up and didn't play him in Davis Cup and played some other players. Yeah, here it is right here in this article. Kokkinakis was overlooked for a wild card at the 2019 tournament in favor of Alexei Popyrin and Mark Polmans and Alex Bolt. And that's that's Tennis Australia. I guess Lleyton Hewitt's working with Tennis Australia now. And basically they're saying, since Hewitt's getting paid by Tennis Australia and we have an issue with Tennis Australia, here's the quote, "He used to hate Tennis Australia. It's weird. Now he loves them. What happened here? I guess he's using them for other things and resources for his paycheck. All these guys that got wild cards are under his system. They're all under his Lleyton Hewitt's wing, under the management company. It's all conflict of interest. And then he's in Davis Cup and he's doing the wrong thing and everyone's leaving. I hope he gets moved and we can go back to having a good captain." And then, which highlights my issue with this whole thing, what does he say after that? He says, "It's important the next 4 or 5 months that I get back in the top 50, Bernard Tomic, top 40, top 30. So that's going to be my goal. But," he adds, "I don't want to play too much because there are better things to do than play tennis. But we'll see." And he laughs. Maybe it's a joke, but that right there, I'm with Lleyton Hewitt. Why am I going to play this guy? Why am I going to help them out? Why am I going to try to go to bat for them with Tennis Australia and convince direct hit and convince them to give the wild card to these underachievers, chronic underachievers? So, as always, comment below what you think on that. I'm just, I just have not been impressed by those guys. The fact that, Tanazi Kokkinakis, I'm not as against him. We haven't seen as much from him, but just the fact that he's so tight and buddy-buddy with these guys, maybe they want to break clean and they just want to go in a totally different direction in Australia and support some other players who seem like they're willing to work harder and have more respect for the game, better work ethic, blah, blah, blah. You get where I'm going with that. That's enough of that. Let's move on. Let's look at some stats. So first up, let's talk about this Isner-Riley Opelka match because I talked about how this is a pretty interesting one. Isner out-aces Riley Opelka. Isner has less double faults than Riley Opelka. Isner is hitting 20% more first serves in. That alone, in this battle of big servers that goes to all tiebreaks, you would think that would do it. You would think that would seal the deal for Isner. Isner wins more when his first serve goes in. Now, his second serve, he's down 5%, but he's still over 60%. Opelka, 66% win on second. Isner, 61%. That's something. 5% significant. Second serve, very important. You're only as good as your second serve, but not if you're getting 20% more. And you look at the numbers. It's not like some weird statistical thing where he didn't hit a lot of first serves or something. Isner hit a total of 138 first serves. Opelka, a total of 151. So Opelka was having a harder time holding serve. The games were going longer. Now, since Isner only had 2 chances to break serve, and Opelka only had 3, that tells me Isner went to deuce a lot when he was returning, but didn't see very many break points, obviously. Further evidence of that is that Isner won more return points. Not a lot more, but more. Isner had 15 more winners. How many more unforced errors did he have? Only 1 more, so that's still a net positive of 14. So how the heck did he lose? This is the thing I should have spotted when I was making my racket bracket, trying to win $1 million. I'll never win the $1 million. His last match, his tune-up before the Australian Open, Isner lost to, was it Taylor Fritz? I think it was Taylor Fritzy boy in 2 tiebreakers. That right there, that was enough. Mentally, Isner didn't have the belief that he could win in a tiebreak. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch. Maybe I'm assuming a little bit, but that's the only thing I can think of that makes sense of this. Where's the total points won? Okay, it's not a lot more, but Isner won 5 more points than Opelka in total. So he won more points, but he loses in 4 sets. The fact that Isner loses that first set in a tiebreak, I think right there, he just started having this thought that I don't feel safe in a tiebreak at all, and maybe I should have saw that coming. I don't know. Again, kind of a tough draw. I should have looked, you know what, now that I think about it, I did look at that match and think like, ew, that's pretty tough first round for Isner, but I thought he'll find a way through it and things will work out. Things did not work out. Let's look at Bautista and Bautista Agut. I'm going to keep calling him Agut. I know some people are calling him Bautista Agut now. Remember when Djokovic told us all that his name was really Djokovic and that he didn't want to be called Djokovic anymore? And then that lasted for like a week and everyone said like Djokovic sounds way better. So I'm going to stick with Bautista Agut unless he personally tells me to stop. I'm not going to say Agut. I think it sounds silly. Unless that's his real name, then it sounds very great. Andy Murray out-aced the heck out of Bautista Agut, but he had 13% less on the first serve in, 3% less on the first serve win, 11, that's whopping. I said 5 was significant, 11 is very significant, less on the win on second serve percentage. He saw 5 breakpoint opportunities where Agut saw 10. Yep. Agut converted half of those. Andy converted 1 of his 5 chances. He won less at the net. He won less on return. He hit less winners. He had way more unforced errors, 51-37. More return winners. That's something. But it's 3-1. He lost almost 25 less points. And his second serve, as always, second serve average was slower than his opponents. That's nothing new. Andy Murray can handle that. So I just think that's pretty interesting. Andy Murray had nothing going for him, just statistically speaking. He just willed it to happen. It's pretty incredible, and it's kind of what he did with his whole career. Everything was against him, having to play against Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, and he willed himself to victory, even if it was only even if it only comes to 3 slams total. He showed up, he beat everyone he had to be there and have a chance, and he managed to triumph, 2 Olympic golds, Let's look at Tsitsipas, because Tsitsipas pounded down 15 aces, lost his first set, storms through it no problem. He's got all those people that used to come root for Marcos Baghdatis, the Cypriot. That place is close, Cyrus. It's pretty close to Greece. So he's got those same fans out there rooting for him. I think it's very safe to say he's going to make it to Federer. I do not think it's safe to say he'll beat Federer. Maybe he'll get a set. I hope he doesn't. Tsitsipas hit in 69% of first serves and won 81% of those, won 63% on the second serve. All that stuff sounds really good. This doesn't sound so good to me, though. He had 40 winners on 49 unforced errors. His opponent had 41 winners on 49 unforced errors, yet he still won fairly easily after that first set. But that is a lot of unforced errors. I love that he's being so aggressive. He's aggressive on the fast court, and I think he'll be able to find ways to win matches, depending on who he runs into exactly. But that's not going to work against Roger Federer. Roger's going to be able to exploit that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this match be less close than their match in Perth at the Hopman Cup. And let's look at Duck and Nadal. So Nadal's got the new serve. Well, the new serve accounted for 6 aces and 2 double faults. It's not too different. There were times, where I saw Nadal hitting serves that looked faster and flatter to me and hitting spots. And it was like a little bit, Fed-like. It was pretty cool from Nadal. And then there were times where he missed the spot. He got it, when they show that box that Federer, there's like a big box showing the spots he doesn't touch with his serve. And then there's like the little lines around it inside the lines that he's hitting all of his serves near. Nadal, not quite able, just like we saw with, what's her name? Ash Barty. I was watching Ash Barty and I was thinking like, man, she looks good. She looks fit. She's playing pretty well. And I noticed Ash Barty was kind of doing this. She was hitting spots, hitting big first serves, aces against Petra Kvitova. And then I'd see spots that she totally missed. And you run the risk. If you go for the corners of the box, like Federer does all the time, and you miss a little bit, basically that player just leans on their right leg, leans on their left leg, winds up, and crushes the return. Like, it's important that you hit close to that corner. You got it when you go for this. Like, you're better off serving at the body if you're going to go for these corners and not get the ball close to the lines. Because if you don't make them move for the ball, if you don't make them lunge out there and they can just load up on the leg and rip, like, you're screwed. It doesn't even matter if it's a first serve and you get pace on it. I think, with like a John Isner, he'll miss a spot, but he's hitting it so freaking hard that you can get away with it a lot. Not so much with these other guys who can't rev it up as fast. So I did see some really good serving from Nadal at times, and then I saw some like missing the spots. And okay, you get the faster, flatter serve, Rafa, but that didn't work because you didn't hit the spot. And you're playing the Duck, who was the last person to lose to Andy Murray, by the way. No offense to Andy Murray and the 1% of Andy Murray fans. So I did notice the Duck did manage to break Rafa once or twice, and the Duck wasted some opportunities he had. He could have won that. I think it was the second set where what was he? Was he up 2-0, 40 love on his serve, and then it was just horrible. It was horrendous what the Duck did, like a double fault, a horrible volley in the net or something. Like I don't remember exactly, but it sucked. He wasted his chance to really test Rafa. Rafa looks overall pretty good to me. We'll see if my theory comes true where his body's going to break down on him earlier than it did last year in the semifinals. We shall see. I think the Demon Hour, it all depends on Demon Hour getting there, playing to his best abilities, and pushing Rafa to, 5 long, grinding, grueling sets, lots of long rallies. But my main point I wanted to say before we look at Federer's stats was there was some points where Rafa had to save break. There was one game in particular I remember where Rafa had to save break point against the Duck, who, if you don't remember, he used to wear a lot of sunscreen. Obviously, he's not wearing as much sunscreen now. If I can find a picture of it, I'll edit it into the video. I'll never forget the Duck just going crazy with the sunscreen. Anyways, the Duck had a chance to break Rafa, and Rafa went straight to that like old, reliable slice serve away, the lefty slide, and then the forehand hit behind him. And then he also went to the big serve on first serve at the body. So we'll see if Rafa keeps trying to go with the I'm going to serve like I'm Federer and flatten it out and go for the corners of the box, or if he's kind of going to go back to the usual Rafa stuff where I'm going to serve at the body a lot. I'm going to use the slice and try to either take you wide off the court or kind of slide it into your hips, which is very effective. But, we thought the game plan was the new serve is going to be the ace machine. And, 6 aces on that. First serve in, 67%. That's pretty good. Win on first, 74. It's pretty good. Win on second, 59. That'll work. This is the Duck we're talking about. This is not exactly the toughest. I'd say Federer playing Denis Istomin, that was a tougher first round than playing the Duck. Federer might have went Maria Sharapova on the Duck if he was so fortunate to draw the Duck in the first round. Might have double bageled or triple bageled. I don't know. Maybe not triple bagel, but I think he would have had an easier time beating the Duck than Rafa did, possibly. Good sign from Rafa, though. 38 winners on 11 unforced errors. The Duck absolutely going for it. 40 winners, 40 unforced errors. And finally, let's look at Federer. 14 aces. That's a great sign. 2 double faults. That's not too bad for most people, but with Roger, you like to see 0 double faults there because he does that a lot. 56% first serve in. One of the things Roger said after the match was that he really is trusting the second serve. It's working very well for him, and that just lets Roger go wild on his first serve, and I think the evidence is there. He's got 14 aces. That's quite a bit. An 83% win on first serve, that's a great number. That is a win the tournament kind of number if Roger can sustain something near win 83% on first serve. Win second serve, like Roger said, he's trusting it. It's working. 67% win on second serve is very good. All right, that's enough stats. So much stuff we can talk about, especially on day one. Let's just look at some comments. This is from the Welshman, who I'm guessing is Welsh. I'm going to miss Murray so much. Growing up watching him make a country proud when he won Wimbledon has to be one of the best tennis moments ever. Hope he gets the recognition he deserves. Well, I think he definitely is. I've seen stories out there saying they're going to build a statue of him at Wimbledon, which he deserves it. And I hope they build one of Federer as well one day. I think he deserves a Wimbledon statue as well. People are saying that Murray had everyone's attention. Obviously, ESPN didn't even show Federer's match last night. They showed a few points here and there. I've never seen that happen before. They stayed with the Murray coverage, and they should have. They made the right move there. I know some people were frustrated. They stayed up late to see Federer play. They had to watch Murray. Well, Murray put up quite a show, right? He put on quite a show. I think Murray earned it. They would have, if he would have lost in straight sets, they would have happily left that and went over to Federer. This is from Blaze22. Blaze. Quarterfinal predictions. Djokovic versus Nishikaishi. Wawrinka versus Coric. Kakinak versus Federer. Dimitrov versus Nadal. Let's talk about Dimitrov a little. This got me thinking. Someone thinks, by the way, Djokovic beats Fed in the final, and then he has these reasons. But let's talk about Dimitrov. Dimitrov's got Agassi with him, who, in my book, is the worst coach of all time. But these guys have got to be pretty motivated. First off, everyone has wrote Grigor Dimitrov off. Everyone says he's toast. He's got no chance. And I hung around with Dimitrov for forever. And when he won Cincinnati, and I was there, I got to see the final of him and Nick Kyrgios play. I thought, this is it. This is the sign that it's finally Dimitrov time. And then not such a great U.S. Open. Wins the World Tour Finals. So I'm thinking, all right, it's Dimitrov time. And then 2018 happens. And I still kind of, I've been rooting for Dimitrov, but watching some of those matches he lost last year, watching him lose to Nishikori in straight sets. It's hard to believe in Dimitrov, but I still want to. I love his game. I'm always going to enjoy watching him play. And in his first round against, it's funny, Janko Tipsarevic, who's been gone forever, Dimitrov lost that first set, and you thought, wow, Dimitrov is screwed, and Agassi is definitely the worst coach of all time. And then he wins it pretty easy and plays pretty great from what I saw. It's not going to take too much to convince me that Blaze is right. Quarterfinal, there's an opportunity in the draw. I remember making my racket bracket thinking Dimitrov could do it, but I have no faith in him right now. And I hope he does do it. I think all of us would love to see Dimitrov do well, even though pretty much everyone's given up on him. And Agassi's got to be motivated because after what happened with Djokovic, I don't think anyone's ever going to say Agassi's a great coach. So Agassi sure would like to prove that he's got his coaching chops. He got the better of Boris Becker, and it must bother Agassi a little that Becker was such a great coach. And so, it's debatable if you think Becker is a great coach or Becker got lucky to coach Djokovic. But Agassi got to coach Djokovic and didn't help him. Hurt him. Hurt them both. Maybe. We'll see. One of the things we see in the first rounds of majors a lot of times, first two rounds sometimes, like with Rafa against the Duck, looked pretty good to me. The Rafa did. But what really can we learn from Rafa whooping up on the Duck, who recently lost to Andy Murray, who played him with only one hip? I don't think we were going to learn a whole lot from Djokovic playing the Kruger. Who was it that took Dimitrov to 5 sets? Was it Mackie McDonald? Although Mackie McDonald kind of had a decent year. But last year, Dimitrov goes 5 sets in like the first round or second round. Like we learned from that. We learned something from that. We learned there was problems for Dimitrov. But unless something like that happens, I don't think we're going to learn a whole lot about Djokovic yet. I agree with the Blaze. We'll see what happens in the next. We'll see what happens in the next 4 or 5 days. Here's a comment from KS. Matt, what order do you think the rest of the Big Four will retire? Very simple. I think Rafa is up next. I think the body has been showing us signs of breaking down. Even though Roger's so much older, I'm pretty confident he will manage to outlast Rafa. Could be wrong. Rafa, he's amazing. No? One of the most incredible athletes of our sport, of our time. That is all. God, I can't do the eyebrow thing. Obviously, Rogers, you'd think he's going to retire before Djokovic for sure. But you would have thought he would retire before Andy Murray. Maybe not. Jeremy Hewlin, tennis is going to win the tournament. Let's be real. That is ultimate trolling. Pretty funny. Credit there. This is from Emirates Sodi. Isner's gone. So much for your bracket, Matt. Yes, I know. I told you I was going to play risky this time. And when you go big on the risk, you can lose really big. And again, as always, I don't care if I'm wrong about anything. The only thing I want to be right about is Federer making that final and winning. This is from Jamer Jill. I can't read it. Picking Simone to win against Sasha is interesting, but if he stays healthy, I don't think it's going to happen. Gil Simone played an awful match against the Demon in Sydney. If he serves anywhere near as slow as he did then, Zverev will have no trouble whatsoever breaking his serve multiple times. Yeah, but Zverev likes that pace coming to him. Maybe a bunch of slow serves might be something that bothers Sasha. You never know. And again, if he's not moving right, something's wrong. He's so young, though. It's pretty believable that he could bounce back no problem. And finally, this is from Prady RF. Federer has played incredibly well against Istomin, made it seem pretty easy despite Istomin playing really well. Fed is definitely in the zone. I read this comment because I am enthused and excited along with you, Pretty RF. But I do want to point out that, one, Federer maybe could have played better and beat him harder. Would have liked to see that. But this is almost the same scoreline as you saw. Well, you didn't see the whole thing, but you saw the first set ended the same against Bedini, Al-Jazzy Bedini last year. I think last year was 6-4, 6-3, 6-4, 6-3, and obviously this match yesterday was 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. That's a pretty good sign. It was a good enough beatdown, just like last year. And I agree with you. I would point out that I've heard, I don't know, Istvan looked like he was playing pretty well to me, but supposedly he's got a little injury thing, just nothing too big, something bothering him a little bit. Maybe he wasn't 100%. Maybe Federer benefited from that. But I still think that Federer would have beat the duck harder than Nadal beat the duck. And finally, let's do a new segment, and then we will get out of here. We're almost out of time. First, let's start with a new segment that I like to call, Hey, That's Pretty Funny. Somebody made fun of Patrick McEnroe named DMA at Tennis Majesty last night on the Twitters. Patrick McEnroe, where are you going with that jacket? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. To which Patrick McEnroe responded and owned him, going wherever the Australian Open takes me. This is the best. Rafa notices, watch it for yourself.
It's not interesting today.
The guy's asleep, if you haven't figured it out yet.
Buongiorno, Waldo. No, non c'è un problema.
Here's the best line.
Oh, I know you was focused on closing your eyes to be more focused on what I'm saying.
That's the funniest thing Nadal's ever said. And here, I was reading this article about Murray, and we found the #1 Andy Murray fan. She represents the 1%. And finally, our new segment that I like to call Not Cool.
That's not really cool, man.
This is from Last Word on Tennis. Sometimes they write some interesting tennis stuff. Their tennis blog on the internets. And sometimes they're kind of over the top and, extreme, almost like the UK Express. Putting Andy Murray on Melbourne Arena is an absolute disgrace. That makes sense, but there's only one little problem. Andrew Murray, Sir Andrew Murray, requested to be on the court that he played on. All right, hit the music. We're getting out of here. Mr. Goat, he's over there doing something. And honestly, Mr. Goat is in big trouble. He actually has to go to court. I think his court date is tomorrow. We live in a very small town, and he has been accused of worshiping the devil. So, Mr. Goat, the artist formerly known as Mr. Goat, has to defend his good name and prove that he wasn't worshiping the devil. Like I said, it's a very small community here. Tonight on Tap, by the way, thank you for watching the show. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll try to be much earlier than we were this time around. You'll get to see the guy that Roger beat up on in the first round last year playing Alexander Sasha Zverev, so stay up for that if you're in the U.S. like me and catch the Joker and Naomi Osaka. But it will be interesting to see how Sasha Zverev moves with the ankle roll recently. Of course, Serena will be on before that, and Serena looking like looking fit, and she's looking like she's got a very winnable draw here. Other 4 a.m. matches that are pretty noteworthy to me. You got to check out Milos Raonic and Nick Kyrgios. I'm putting my money on Milos Raonic, even though who knows? You never know which Kyrgios you'll get. Simona Halep playing Kai Kanepi, the lady who took her out in the first round of the U.S. Open. Quite a story if it happened again, and don't rule it out completely. And Dominic Thiem, after that match, Dominic Thiem versus Benoit Paire. That match has got me super curious. I love Benoit Paire. I think Benoit Paire can win it if he's been a little bit Nick Kyrgios himself this year, but I think he could win it because I don't think Dominic Thiem is going to be able to play super well to the best of his abilities on this fast court, just like we saw him lose to Air Bear Herbert. See ya!